Hello, Wheel of Time fans. It is Friday, and I have just watched episode 7 of season 2, and this is my immediate, and I mean very immediate, notes on the phone, let's just talk and see what happens, reaction, and ultimately a quick review of episode 7. So, let's get started. Roll the titles. Okay then, here we go. So, this was another superb episode, and I'm getting, I won't say bored, but I'm getting quite used to saying that now in every single episode. These have been consistently superb episodes, and this one, like the rest, is no exception. This one manages to keep all of the plates spinning, all of the threads in balance, and weaving them quite aptly together in many cases, and it's fantastic. So we'll start at the beginning, and then we'll see where we end up based on, you know, what scribblings I've got on here and where I've put them all. But the cold open was really good. It was great to see two youthful Aes Sedai in Siuan and Moiraine just planning their future and getting to the point where they want, Siuan wants the fisherman's hut, but Moiraine showing a little bit of her dominant personality there and saying, you'll be my fishwife. And it's also lovely, and it's great getting there. We'll do our time in the tower, we'll get out, we'll advise someone, we'll spend that time together, we'll retire, it'll be lovely. And we know they do tend to retire a bit now. That's where Verin's been retired for some time now, or officially, but still able, a full sister and able to come in the tower. So that's great until they and you get peals of bells in the background, and the Aiel War is over, and they're retreating. It's done. Everyone is happy. They are happy, and it's possibly the last time you see them truly happy in the timeline to this point. And then obviously you go in, and old Guitara's there, and as they go in, the foretelling strikes, and at the exact same time that Rand is being born and Tigraine is giving birth and then dying, this foretelling hits Guitara, and they're there to witness it, and she charges them. She's like, you must tell no one. This must be you two who do this. And that smashes all of their plans. Absolutely everything gone in an instant. Their futures now determined entirely by this vision of the future. I say of the future. This vision of the moment, shall we say. And that's it. They must position themselves in the tower now to put themselves in a place where they can steer events for the Dragon Reborn as time goes on. And that was it. It was also really, it was a nice touch that the Tigraine's death and Guitara's death happened at the same time, or almost in concert together, and somehow the pattern connived to connect the two to give this message to those who needed it the most. And so that was great. It was really good, and I think it explains a lot about the both of them, which I did like, and it really adds a bit of emotional weight to this episode in particular, where those two are thrown into some conflict together. Right, we'll start with what has been the biggest bugbear of everybody, myself included, throughout this series, and that has been what they've done with Lan. And I kind of like the payoff here. I'm not so sure they should have been so ham-fisted with it. It's a more very blunt instrument approach, but I like the fact that as we see, by the way, I'm going to skip through the episode forwards and backwards following plot lines rather than just doing the whole thing in order. I think it will be easier. But so it shows that it's been Moiraine who believes that she has been stilled. And I've mentioned several times that it's it's potentially unlikely, and it's more likely that she's had a tied off weave. And Lan, who she's mistreated and pushed away because she's in such a bad way, he has been the dutiful warder all along. He has, throughout all of this, been looking for a way to help Moiraine. He has tried to get people involved where he can. He's brought on board Alana slowly, and he has brought her warders on board. He went to the Amyrlin to be the tattletale and explain to her what has been going on. All of this to help Moiraine where he could. And at the end of the day, having done the research and spoken to the Aes Sedai who that gave him access to, he has learnt that, from his point of view, Aes Sedai cannot see male weaves, and that Aes Sedai do not know that you can tie off a weave these days. It's something from the Age of Legends, and therefore a weave that is tied off becomes its own self-sustaining thing and does not require the presence of a channeler. And since Moiraine did not know that, she couldn't help but think that she was stilled, and so everything she said was, as far as she's concerned, according to the oaths, completely true. And it takes Lan bullying Loghain to get the truth from her, and then it takes Lan persuading Rand, which again I think is part of why he was preparing Rand to speak to Siuan earlier. It takes him persuading Rand to really truly look with the power at Moiraine and not just with his eyes, and see that there were weaves and a knot that had tied off her shield and forced her into this position where she thinks she was stilled. And so Lan, after all of that, gets his comeuppance and does the ultimate warder's duty and saves his Aes Sedai by getting her ability to channel back. And I'm not so sure they should have spent quite so much time on it, or maybe they should have been a little bit more blatant about it. I don't know. But the payoff is good. I like it. I like the way it ended. I like the way he brought Rand in to help Moiraine. I think that was really, really good. So speaking of Lan and Rand, I like the fact that he immediately noticed Rand taking a sword form, which tells me he was paying attention to the old soldier in Cairhien in the asylum. And then teaching him cat crosses the courtyard in order to go and see the Amyrlin was brilliant. And letting him keep his sword, whatever comes, face it on your feet. We got that bit, but in more depth and more frank than we would have got the scene if it was done at the start of the series. This was done where there was no pretense. It was just the two of them, and it was this frank discussion. And look at you, you're in a position where 6 months down the line, any sister could apprehend you. She didn't go so far as to say Loghain's better than you, but I mean at this point Loghain is much more competent than Rand when it comes to channeling. Rand is getting more regularly able to seize the source though, and that is something that's promising. He just doesn't know what to do with it once he's got there. So Lan taking that mentoring role now with Rand, and I do hope that for the time that they're together, however long this may be at this point, I do hope that we begin to see more and more teaching him the sword forms and just being that source of advice. It's not always good, it's quite often toxic masculinity, but at times it is very, very handy for Rand to have this, and it starts to forge him into the person that he needs to be. So that was good. Excellent prep from Lan. Matt, I am still absolutely loving Donal Finn as Matt. I think he's brilliant. Barney Harris was good, but Donal feels more natural to me. It's more of a quick wit. It's less of a self-deprecating thing. It's there, but it doesn't feel as deliberately intent to wound himself as it did with Barney Harris. Donal's is more playful. And he's taken over to Falme, and we don't see travelling there, but I assume it must have been travelling. It would have been nice to see a gateway. Used to start setting that up for the future, but I think maybe we'll see that soon anyway. He wakes up in Falme and with Ishamael, having had a quick chat with Lanfear, and it's very strange that they're just quite happy with these people to hang around with them. And immediately, is this a sex thing or a murder thing? Because either way, I'd prefer you stop the talking. It made me chuckle. I had to pause it for a moment just to thoroughly appreciate that. It was really good. The interesting thing with Matt and Ishamael is Ishamael wants to unlock his old memories. Now, in the books, this is a real bugbear to Matt because it happens and he hates it. These holes in his mind that get filled with other people's thoughts, his past lives, but it's what makes him this incredible tactician, because he can remember dying hundreds and hundreds of times over in many, many battles. Is the son of battles. He is the ultimate general for the light. And is Ishamael is that going to be an accidental byproduct of Ishamael trying to awaken these past lives in him, or is that what Ishamael is working towards? Like, again, in this scene, the plot development with Ishamael and I just want it to stop. I want to get a good night's sleep. I want it to end. I want the suffering to end. It's far more human and understandable than Ishamael ever was, and is, as Rafe said in his Q&A recently, they're folding a lot of Moradin into Ishamael, and I think he's the actor. He's a good actor to play the role, and if he gets ever so slightly more deranged as the time goes on, I think that'd work well. But right now, he's a really understandable villain, and I don't hate him. And so far, he's not. I mean, even Lanfear is more classically evil than he is at the moment. Like, he's very much manipulative and threatening, and obviously he tied off a shield on Moiraine. But Lanfear is big boom, destruction, explode your head, casual violence lady, and Ishamael is just a little bit calmer about things, but not in a you're a really creepy villain kind of a way, although he does do that from time to time, but very much in a this is what I believe, this is my ethos, why don't you also have this ethos? He's a believer, isn't he? He's a true believer, but less of a zealot and more of a calm manipulator. So again, great development of that, great development of Matt, which is very interesting. It's nice to see Perrin again. We didn't get much time with Perrin, but what we did get was more of a look into Aiel culture when we meet Bane and Chayad, and we get Maiden hand talk, which is great that they keep slipping into it when they don't want him to know anything. And it took a while, this beating that they gave Avienda, to see this as a Giato kind of thing, and that it was all honour and obligation, and getting captured during the fight was what caused their leader to get killed. And so yeah, I like seeing into the Isle. I hope we see more. It was very clever. Perrin's eyes catching the hidden figure in the desert landscape. Certainly would have been hard to spot, on a lower resolution television. But it did the job, and I think, Perrin's supervision with his wolves is coming along quite nicely there. So plot developments all around. We must briefly talk about Loial, because given the freedom of the city as a slave to walk around knowing that there's no escape but to go and do jobs for Suroth, and getting accosted by Nynaeve and Elaine, and even at this point he takes the time in this crisis situation to get down on one knee and bow to the daughter heir, and his name sings in her ears, so her name sings in his ears and all of that, and it's brilliant. And Nynaeve having no patience with him whatsoever, and I love Loial. He's fantastic, and Hamid is doing a brilliant job with him, and I like the camera angles are now sort of from below, so he looks much taller in a lot of situations. I think it's working better. I'm still not so keen on the overall look, but the character's great, the acting's fantastic, and his writing's on point, so I don't care. I really don't care at this point. I'm just happy with him. So yeah, the meeting between Siuan and Rand as well, the anger that she carries that he's not developed further isn't necessarily anger at Rand, although she decides to follow Tower law and chain him for now. She's actually angry at Moiraine for not sharing. She's angry at Moiraine for not telling her she believes she was still. She's angry at Moiraine for not teaching Rand. She's angry at Moiraine for failing at the Eye of the World and for not sharing how bad the situation was. And I think that's probably why she acts so severely with Rand. And it's interesting how it all ends, obviously chaining him up as he does, and then Verin coming in to relieve Leanne, and it looks like a lie, but he might, I mean, it's very hard to tell. Like, those words were very careful, and the way Verin took over and freed both Rand and Moiraine in concert with Alana and the Warders was really good. But it did lead us to the climactic episode with Rand having asked Lanfear for help. And Lanfear just, I am Lanfear, I will blast my way through the foregate. So the foregate burns down, which is good. We expected as such. But also to see then what I thought immediately was going to be this confrontation between Moiraine and Siouan suddenly becomes a no confrontation, because I completely forgotten about the fourth oath that she'd been forced to swear, which forces her to obey her. And all of a sudden things are going bad, and then things go from bad to worse because Lanfear turns up and Rand has to stop her immediately, killing her. She takes Siouan out of the picture, just throws her down, knocks her out immediately, or hurts her certainly, and then she's about to kill Moiraine until Rand's like, no, actually, don't you dare, I won't do anything for you unless you look after her. But then that leaves with them all four of them, so Lan, Moiraine, Rand and Lanfear going into the ways together, which is weird, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but there's got to be a lot of time in there that they're going to have to talk, and it's just strange. And obviously Siouan sees them all going and almost begs for help, and Moiraine, being the cold badass that she is, knows that the only way to get what needs to be done is to leave her. But it is so interesting. Like, will this... Surely this is another nail in the Amyrlin's coffin, to see her co-conspirator off with one of the Forsaken and the Dragon Reborn. Liandrin's in town, recruiting dark friend Barthanes, finally, although little good that did, because his mum is too wily and Days Damar to give into that shit, and he's dealt with very quickly. But with Liandrin in town, she'll know very clearly what's happened, and what's happened in that area with the Waygate, and I think it's going to be one more nail in her coffin when it comes to Elida wanting to make a move for the seat. So that's one more thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Again, I don't know how much that'll happen in the next episode, or whether we're going to spend most of our time on Falm and a big old battle, but we will see. But there's so much in this episode that is just glorious. Like, I haven't even mentioned Egwene and Renna, the whole Damane test, and they're all, oh, that was quite good, it almost reached us, and then Egwene goes out and goes and just something that measures on the Richter scale in the nearby city, so she's so powerful, and it's good to see that she's developing and learning, because obviously she doesn't forget these weaves so much when she's seen them. She's a quick learner, but it's good to see her developing like that. And then you think, as she's letting Renna clean her hands at the end, and she's just being silent and submissive, that she's become broken and that this is just her life and she's accepted it. But then at the very end, when she tells her she's going to kill her, and see the look of disgust on the Suldam's face, that she's not yet managed to tame this Damane as she sees it. I'd say person, but they don't see him as people. And so that is absolutely brilliant. And Egwene's iron will is a core thing throughout all of the Wheel of Time, and she does it her way, and she doesn't give up, and she pushes and she pushes and she works until she gets what she needs or what she wants. And this is no different. Yes, she's been forced into submission, but she's been forced into submission on not so much her terms, but she's not doing it entirely on their terms. She's finding a way to resist. She's finding a way to make sure that she isn't completely obedient, even if it's saying at the end that she's going one day to kill this person. You have to do what you say right now, but I am one day going to kill you. Bit more in final bit, I think, actually. A couple of final bits. So firstly, in the trailer was an explosion from some castle gates. I thought that might be Falm, but actually it's proven to be Lanfear just busting on into Cairhien. Again, pretty cool, just casually blowing people up left, right and centre. And it was very cool to see all the Aes Sedai link and the really huge, super complicated weave that Siouan did to call in the rainstorm to put the fire out. Before sending the sisters off to go heal people. That was really cool. Final bit that I thought was really cool, and I can't wait to see more of in the next episode, is Elaine and Nynaeve having captured themselves a Suldam. They've got the bracelet, they've got the Adam, and they immediately, as she's about to go into the kennels, they clap it on her neck, and it works, which I imagine must be a hell of a shock to the Suldam, because it only works on people who can channel, and that is a revelation that hopefully we will get in the next episode. Maybe not entirely, but certainly to the girls, and that's going to be interesting. So I really like that, and I assume that's going to be how they work out how to undo it, because you would imagine a Suldam knows how to undo it, or it may be that you just have to will it open, but we'll find out. They've got the bracelet, they've got the control right now, and crucially they've got something that is going to be very important later on in the plot. So yeah, there we go. My rambling wild and all about chat is done. What I really thought the episode was good about was it took its 66 minutes very, very seriously, and it spent all of that time setting up the final episode, moving plot points forward, showing every one of the main casts in some important situation and further positioning them. Now, everyone who is important is heading to Falm, the final episode, however long that's going to be. I cannot wait to see what it is next week. And then I'm going to have to wait for however many long, a year, 18 months, 2 years for season 3. It's going to drive me nuts. But this episode, 8.5. 8.5. As good as we've had this season so far, I really, really liked it. So, can't wait to see the next one. In the meantime, please do like, do subscribe, do share with your friends, leave comments below. Any thoughts I've missed, let me know. We'll have a discussion, we'll talk about it, we'll find out what we can between us about this final episode. And until then, take care. I'll see you soon.